102 6-bit item. Item 102 obliterating abandoned street, per square yard. Item 103 remove concrete. 103 description. This item shall govern the breaking up, removing, and satisfactorily disposing of existing concrete, as classified, at locations shown on the plans or as directed by the engineer. Existing concrete not shown on the plans, located beneath the natural ground surface, not indicated by the engineer or not obvious to the naked eye will not be covered under this item. Such materials will be removed as needed and paid for under Item 104 street excavation, Item 105 channel excavation, or Item 306 structural excavation. 103 2 classification. Existing concrete to be removed under this item will be classified as follows. A. Concrete curb. Concrete curb will include curb, and gutter, and low curb at driveways, and combinations thereof. The removal of monolithic concrete curb or doweled concrete curb will be included in the concrete pavement measurement. B. Concrete traffic barrier. Concrete traffic barrier will include permanent concrete barrier used for channeling or dividing traffic that is not considered salvageable. C. Sidewalks and driveways. Sidewalks and driveways will include concrete sidewalks and driveways. D. Miscellaneous concrete. Miscellaneous concrete will include all other items that are not noted above or covered by other items. 103 3 equipment. Provide the machinery, tools, and equipment necessary for proper prosecution of the work. All machinery, tools, and equipment used shall be maintained in a satisfactory and workmanlike manner. 103 4 construction. A. General. The existing concrete shall be broken up, removed, and disposed of by the contractor in accordance with federal, state, and local regulations. B. Partial removal of concrete. When only a portion of the existing concrete is to be removed, care shall be exercised to avoid damage to that portion to remain in place. The existing concrete shall be cut to neat lines shown on the plans or as established by the engineer, by sawing with an appropriate type circular concrete saw to a minimum depth of 1/2 inch. Any existing concrete which is damaged or destroyed beyond the neat line so established shall be replaced at the contractor's expense. Where reinforcement is encountered in the removed portions of the concrete, a minimum of 1 foot shall be cleaned of all old concrete and left in place to tie into the new concrete construction. 103 5 measurement. Measurement for this item will be conducted as follows. A. Concrete curb. Concrete curb removed as prescribed above will be measured by the linear foot in its original position regardless of the thickness and reinforcing steel encountered. B. Concrete traffic barrier. Concrete traffic barrier as prescribed above will be measured by the linear foot in its original position regardless of the type or size encountered. C. Concrete sidewalk and driveway. Concrete sidewalks and driveways removed as prescribed above will be measured by the square foot in its original position regardless of the thickness of the concrete and reinforcing steel encountered. D. Miscellaneous concrete. Miscellaneous concrete will be measured by the square foot in its original position regardless of the thickness of the concrete and reinforcing steel encountered. 103 6 payment. This item will be paid for at the contract unit price bid for remove concrete curb, remove concrete traffic barrier, remove concrete sidewalks and driveways, or remove miscellaneous concrete, which price shall be full compensation for all work herein specified, including the furnishing of all materials, equipment, tools, labor, and incidentals necessary to complete the work. 103 7 bid item. Item 103 1. Remove concrete curb, per linear foot. Item 103 2, remove concrete traffic barrier, per linear foot. Item 103 3, remove sidewalks and driveways, per square foot. Item 103 4, remove miscellaneous concrete, per square foot. Item 104 street excavation. 104 1 description. Excavate and properly dispose all excavated material, of whatever character, within the limits of the work and construct, compact, shape and finish earthwork on the entire length of the street, approaches, and or sidewalk in accordance with specification requirements herein outlined and in conformity with the required lines, grades, and typical cross-sections, shown on the plans or directed by the engineer. 142 Materials. All excavation shall be unclassified and shall include all materials encountered regardless of their nature or the manner in which they are removed, except those covered by other pay items. A. Hazardous materials. If the contractor encounters hazardous substances, industrial waste, other environmental pollutants, underground storage tanks, or conditions conducive to environmental damage, contractor shall immediately stop work in the area affected and report the condition to the owner's representative in writing. Contractor shall not be responsible for or required to conduct any investigation, site monitoring, containment, cleanup, removal, restoration, or other remedial work of any kind or nature, the remedial work, under any applicable level, state, or federal law, regulation or ordinance, or any judicial order. If the contractor agrees in writing to commence and or prosecute some or all of the remedial work, all costs and expenses, to include any extension of the contract time, of such remedial work shall be paid by owner to contractor as additional compensation. B. Existing structures / obstructions. Removal of structures and other obstructions prior to excavation and finishing of all other earthwork described herein shall be completed and paid for in accordance with item 101, preparing right-of-way unless otherwise stated on the plans. C. Existing asphaltic materials. All asphaltic material shall be disposed of or recycled at a facility authorized to accept the material for such purposes. 104.3 Equipment. Provide applicable equipment to conduct work as described in this specification or as specified on the plans. 104.4 Construction. The subgrade shall be shaped in conformity to the lines and grades established by the engineer by removal of existing material or addition of approved material. Material removed in one area may be utilized in the addition of material to the subgrade in another area if approved by the engineer. All material required for completion of the subgrade shall be subject to approval by the engineer. Unsuitable excavation or excavation in excess of that needed for construction shall be known as waste and shall become the property of the contractor, and it shall become his sole responsibility to dispose of this material off the limits of the right-of-way. Proper disposal shall be in conformance with, but not limited to, the following provisions. Do not deposit excavated material within jurisdictional wetlands, and obtain appropriate permits and apply provisions pertaining to soil erosion and stream pollution, when necessary, to meet federal and or local regulations, rules, and procedures. A. Rock cuts. Excavate to finished subgrade elevation using equipment appropriate for the conditions encountered. Manipulate and compact subgrade in accordance with Section 1044C. Compaction, unless excavation is to clean homogeneous rock at finished subgrade elevation. If excavation extends below finished subgrade, use approved material compacted in accordance with Section C to replace undercut material at no additional cost. All unstable or otherwise objectionable material shall be removed from the subgrade and replaced with approved material in loose lifts not to exceed 12 inches in depth. Removal and replacement of unstable material will be paid by the engineer. B. Earth cuts. All earth cuts shall be scarified to a uniform depth of at least 6 inches below the required finished subgrade elevation. All holes, ruts, and depressions shall be filled with approved material in loose lifts not to exceed 12 inches in depth. Compact the scarified subgrade in accordance with Section 1044C. Compaction. If the engineer determines that the subgrade is unsuitable, the contractor shall remove the unsuitable material to the limits directed by the engineer and replace it with suitable material. Removal and replacement of unsuitable material will be paid by the engineer. C. Compaction. Subgrade materials shall be compacted to the required density and moisture content as shown below, unless otherwise shown on the plans. Subgrade material density moisture content pi equals 20 equals 95% of max dry density, 2% of opt. Or greater pi 20 equals 95% of max dry density equals opt. Moisture. The maximum dry density and optimum moisture content shall be determined in accordance with TXDOT test method Tex 114A. Tests for in-place density shall be made in accordance with TXDOT test method Tex 115E and within 24 hours after compacting operations are completed. If the material fails to meet the density specified, it shall be reworked as necessary to obtain the density required. For materials with a pi 20, just prior to placing any base materials or stabilization, the top 3 inches of compacted subgrade shall be tested for density and moisture content. If tests show the density to be more than 2% below the specified minimum or the moisture content to be more than 3% above or below the optimum, the course shall be reworked as necessary to obtain the specified compaction and moisture content. If the material used to replace undercuts or unsuitable material contains more than 30% oversize fraction, i.e. 30% or more retained on the 3/4 inch sieve, or is gap graded, many large particles with limited small particles, the maximum density determined by Tex 114E may not be appropriate for field compaction. If this situation is encountered, the engineer may elect to accept the material without density testing. With the approval of the engineer, place layers in loose lifts not to exceed 12 inches. Before and during rolling operations, bring each layer to the moisture content directed. Compact each layer until there is no evidence of further consolidation. Maintain a level layer to aid in uniform compaction. If the required stability or finish is lost for any reason, reco-impact and refinish the subgrade at no additional expense to the city. The contractor is also responsible for compaction of trenches installed as a part of this specification. D. Tolerances. The surface of the subgrade shall be finished to the lines and grades as established. Any deviation in excess of 1/2 inch in cross-section and in a length of 16 feet measured longitudinally shall be corrected by loosening, adding, or removing material, reshaping and compacting by sprinkling and rolling in accordance with Section 1044C. Compaction. Sufficient subgrade shall be prepared in advance to ensure satisfactory prosecution of the work. E. Quality control. After each layer of embankment or select material is complete, tests as necessary will be made by the engineer. If the material fails to meet the density specified, the course shall be reworked, as necessary, to obtain the specified compaction. Should the subgrade, due to any reason or cause, lose the required stability, density/moisture as described in Section 1044C. Compaction, or finish before the pavement is placed, it shall be reco-impact in accordance with Section C and refinished at the sole expense of the contractor. Excessive loss of moisture in the subgrade shall be prevented by sprinkling, sealing or covering with a subsequent layer of asphaltic or other approved material.